You have built the strategy. You have hired the talent. You have set the targets. And yet something is not working. Your team is not performing the way you know they can. And if you are honest with yourself, you have been searching for the answer in the wrong places. You've been looking at the spreadsheets, the KPIs, the processes, when the real answer has always been sitting somewhere far more fundamental than any of that. Today, we are going to talk about the 6 real reasons your team is underperforming. And I promise you, by the end of this conversation, the way you see your people and yourself as a leader will never be the same. The first reason most leaders miss is the one they can't see. It sits beneath the metrics, the strategy, and the surface-level performance. Your environment shapes everything, not just the physical space, but the emotional climate, the tension no one talks about, the tone in the room before a single word is spoken. By the time someone joins your team, they've already been conditioned by the environments they've come from. We're wired to adapt. That's not a mindset idea, that's biology. Think of it like a still lake at dawn. Drop a small stone in, and the ripples reach every edge. A single moment, a leader's tone in a meeting, a bit of tension left unresolved, a culture of fear disguised as high standards. That's enough to shift everything. When the environment carries pressure or negativity, people absorb it without realizing. They don't decide to underperform. They respond to what they're surrounded by. So culture isn't a nice to have. Creating genuine support, psychological safety, and a shared sense of purpose is the foundation. Everything in your business is built on it. Now, once you understand the environment, the next layer becomes even more powerful. Because performance isn't shaped only by the environment itself. It's shaped by how people perceive it. What we believe about a situation changes how the body responds. It changes our chemistry in real time. When your team faces pressure, a difficult client, a shifting market, a tight deadline, they immediately interpret what that situation means. If the brain perceives it as a threat, the nervous system shifts into survival mode. Cortisol rises. Focus narrows. The body prepares to protect itself. And in that state, creativity disappears first. Then strategic thinking. Then collaboration, trust, and clear communication. They're not being difficult. They're being human. This is where leadership matters most. Your role is to help people shift their perception, to move from seeing pressure as a threat to seeing it as a challenge they can navigate. Because the moment that perception changes, the nervous system changes with it. The body calms down. The mind opens back up. Possibility returns. And underneath all of this is a deeper truth. Life is not happening to your team. It's happening through them. The challenges they face are not punishments, they are signals, invitations, lessons they are being asked to grow through. When people begin to see challenge that way, everything changes. Not just their performance, but their entire relationship with pressure and adversity. But here is where it gets even more interesting. Because perception is shaped by something we rarely examine, our deeply held certainties. Sit in enough boardrooms and you will see it everywhere. People who are absolutely convinced they are right. People who have stopped listening because they already know the answer. That stubbornness is not always arrogance. It is the result of early beliefs that have hardened over time into unquestioned assumptions. Those beliefs were absorbed long ago from parents, teachers, past experiences, moments of pain or silence or repetition, and they settled into identity and began to feel like truth. But age does not make a belief accurate. Repetition does not make it real. The phrase, "I just know," sounds confident, but in practice it is the single greatest barrier to innovation in any organization. When your team is addicted to being right, they stop being curious. They stop asking the questions that lead to breakthroughs. The antidote is not confrontation, it is curiosity. When you build a culture where questions are celebrated over conclusions, where listening is valued more than speaking, you dissolve the rigidity and open the space for ideas that genuinely move the needle. And yet even the most curious team can fall into a trap that is equally dangerous. The trap of tunnel vision. Ambition demands focus, but unchecked focus creates blind spots. When your team is locked onto a short-term target with absolute intensity, they begin to miss the information that exists just outside that narrow frame. They miss the early signals of a market shift. They miss the colleague who is quietly burning out beside them. They miss the obvious because they are staring too hard at the urgent. Think of a plane leaving for a destination. If the course drifts by just 1 degree, it does not land where it intended. It arrives somewhere entirely different. Direction matters. Small misalignments, left uncorrected, lead to very different endings. This is why the discipline of stepping back, of deliberately elevating your perspective to take in the broader picture, is not a distraction from performance. It is the very thing that protects it. Now, understanding blind spots leads us directly into the science of how the brain filters reality. And this is where things become truly transformational. Your brain has a system called the reticular activating system, and its entire function is to filter what you notice based on the thoughts you repeat most often. If someone on your team is constantly telling themselves, "I am not good enough," or "I always struggle under pressure," their brain is not being negative for the sake of it. It is doing exactly what it was programmed to do. It is scanning the world for evidence that confirms that belief, and it will find it every single time. Here is what I want you to understand about self-talk. It is not background noise. It builds who you are. These repeated phrases carve pathways in the brain, turning into beliefs, and beliefs shape identity. Identity shapes how a person faces the world, in every meeting, every conversation, every moment of pressure. The way you change this is not through motivation posters or performance reviews. You change it by changing the language. When you help someone shift from "I cannot handle this" to "I am developing the capacity to handle this," you literally reprogram the filter. The brain begins searching for evidence of growth instead of evidence of failure, and confidence is rebuilt from the inside out. Which brings us to the sixth, and perhaps the deepest reason of all, the role of the subconscious mind and the emotional patterns that live within it. Our subconscious holds every habit, every memory, and every emotional experience we have ever had. And over time, we do not just remember our emotions. We become addicted to them. Replaying guilt, anxiety, frustration, or resentment generates a chemical response in the body, and the body begins to crave that chemistry, the way it craves anything it has grown dependent on. Emotions are not just feelings, they are energy, emotion, and bottled emotions do not vanish. They show up as tight shoulders, exhaustion, restless nights, and a heaviness that no amount of strategy can fix. Viktor Frankl captured this truth with extraordinary precision. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies the power to choose, teaching your people to inhabit that space, to feel their emotions fully, to process and release them rather than suppress or recycle them, and to consciously cultivate states of gratitude, curiosity, and possibility, shifts their emotional baseline entirely. And when the baseline shifts, the results shift with it. Here is what I want you to take away from today. Your team's underperformance is not a talent problem. It is not a strategy problem. It is a human problem, and that means it is entirely solvable. The environment you create, the perceptions you help shape, the certainties you challenge, the blind spots you illuminate, the language you encourage, and the emotional culture you build. These are the 6 levers that determine everything. Master these, and you do not just improve performance, you transform the people delivering it. Change does not come from outside. It starts inside the mind. And as a leader, you have more influence over that internal world, in yourself and in your people, than you may have ever realized. Take radical responsibility for that today. Start with one shift, one conversation, one reframe. Because small, deliberate moves, compounded over time, are how extraordinary teams are built. Not through grand gestures and dramatic overhauls, but through the quiet, consistent choice to see people more clearly, lead them more honestly, and believe in their potential more deeply than they currently believe in it themselves. The work you do on yourself is the most important work you will ever do, not just for your team, not just for your business, but for every life your leadership touches. Until next time.